Hello and welcome to episode 5 of the Absolute Game of Nerds with your non-geek, non-nerd hosts, JP and Rohan. This is, like I said, episode number 5, our first interview, probably our best interview we're going to do, talking about an awesome book. And I'm going to let Rohan introduce our guest. Go ahead,
Yeah,
sir.
we for our first interview, we got ourselves a whale. We have Erol Molnar, who's joining us all the way from Melbourne, Australia. Erol's got a great story to share about how he hunted down Superman #1, one of the biggest, baddest books there is. So, Erol, say hello.
Hello, fellas. Hello, everybody outside. How you guys doing?
Good. How you doing?
Good.
So let's just start with the basics. Erol, why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself, where you are, who you are, what you do, that kind of thing, and then we'll get into the comic stuff.
Sure, not a problem. The first, I want to put a shout out to Lawrence from Mighty Comics and Collectibles. I love you guys. You guys do a great job. Same thing with Jason from Omega Collects. Two great guys, which I love. They do so much for the community wise, and they're just good people. I love these guys. So
yeah. Actually, on that note, that's how I got to know who you were. So Lawrence from Mighty is my favorite guy to watch for comic book info, and so you were on his first signature series pod, I believe it was with Ryan from Omega. And so that's how I learned who you are and started following you. Big shout out to Lawrence, big fan. He's become a great resource for me too as well in my collecting. So I really appreciate his input he's given me.
Yeah, these guys are real. They keep it like as far as what they collect, what they tell people what not to do, what to do, and just don't stress yourself when you're buying books. Just believe in what you buy and just go with your guts instinct. So these guys just delivered solid information to the public out there, and I love these guys for it.
Yeah, I actually told Lawrence that we're having you on, and he's like, "Can I get on?" I was like, "Oh yeah, trust me, I'm definitely gonna ask you to come on too."
No, that'd be cool. Yeah, that'd be cool.
Yeah. Anyways, go ahead. Let's go into the who, what, where for you real quick, and then we'll get into the comic stuff.
Okay. Anyways, my name is Erol Molnar. I'm living in Australia right now. I'm originally from Canada. I'm still born and bred from the Great White North. I've been collecting comic books, probably like collectibles, like memorabilia, stuff like that, from the mid '90s. So it's always been like my passion, where I love to collect things. Where it's like the hunt. You love to go for the hunt for when it comes to like any kind of item you search for. And the rarer the better, because it has more if something's too easy to collect or something's too easy to find, it's not a challenge for me. I always try to find it as a challenge, because the more the challenge is something, the more you can appreciate it. So
nice.
That's how
real quick, I always like to know what do you do for work? Is it comic related, or do you do something completely different?
No, I do contracting work and stuff like that over here. So it's
right on.
I've been in the painting and plastering business with my family ever since I came out here, and then started my own business, and then it just took off, and then it just branched out to I was born and bred into that family when I was 14 years old with my dad, and it just came I was good at it and just stick with it. It's like an artist is with his brushes. It's just an easier form of doing things. And you earn a living at it. And comics to me was just something where I grew into as a kid. Any kid out there probably likes to have Spider-Man or Superman, Batman, all the the classic characters. And I fell into it as a kid because one of my good friends I used to go to school with, he used to have so many comic books in his basement. So when I was probably 8, 9 years old, I'd go to his basement. He lived about 2 blocks away from me, and he'd have boxes and boxes of comics. And I just looked at them all and just read them. It's just like anybody else did. And then after a while, he ended up opening his own comic book store in, I think, the early 90s in my hometown, Thunder Bay. So I'd be going to his store almost every Saturday. I'd go there in the morning, just go through the bins, looking for books, and just one thing led to another.
Right on. So real quick then, being in Canada, growing up there, pretty far north, and then going to when did you move to Australia?
I moved down here in 2009 in June.
Okay. Has that made it more difficult to collect in those areas? Because I know you always see people. No,
because ever since you have the internet, everything's at the palm of your hands now. So it's, to me wise, It's just location wise, where if you go to a local comic store, or there's a lot of good ones over here. Don't get me wrong. Like I've picked up a lot of good books from here. Like I remember one time I went to a comic store, about probably 20 minutes from me, maybe about 10 miles from where I live. He had his short box. He has so many short boxes in these shelves. So I was going through it, and he had 2 House of Secrets 92 inside there, just sitting in there. Wow. At $500 a piece. So I looked at it. This is about probably 4 or 5 years ago. I looked at it about a mid-grade plus. I looked at it. I haggled him because he just didn't care for it. I go, well, this is a classic, book from Bernie Wrightson. How could you not care for this? They're just sitting in a box. So I took took them both out, bought them. I paid, I think it was like $700 for both. Wow. I flipped one book the same night I bought it. I made about $1,500 the same night.
Really? Nice.
I kept one.
Well, yeah. So like you've actually already handled now, basically given all that, like first couple questions we had. So the reason we brought Erol on specifically was because Erol has hunted for Superman 1 for 14 years. So to start that, like, why don't we talk about why Superman 1? Like, what made you choose that was your target goal? Like, why Superman 1 versus, and I know you talked about how you like things rare that are hard to get. So like, why Superman 1 versus maybe Action 1 or, Marvel Comics 1 or
Hulk 181. Yeah, Hulk 181. You're in Canada. You had that was probably given everyone at birth,
well,
right?
I have that too, yeah. Well, it's not been 14. It's been probably since 97, 98. I've been hunting for that book.
Oh, damn. Okay.
So it's been about 23 years, like that, 24 years. Yeah. Like I've had two Superman comics, coverless ones I've had. So that kind of like, does it add up? No, it does. It doesn't. You know what I mean? But then in I think it was 2006 or 2003. Sorry, there was a guy actually on eBay. He was selling the actual first page to Superman 1. It was like $600 I was going for it at the time. And at the time before then, about a few months prior, there was a guy on Comic Link store who was selling an Action Comics #1 first page, which I bought. It was selling for $3,000 at the time. Like that was a lot of money for me. I was like, what, 3,000? That's massive money for a first page. But the significance to that page is it's the first page to Superman 1. It doesn't get any better than that. So
that's the one you posted like a couple weeks ago, I think, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I'm like, you look at the thing, and a lot of people are gonna criticize at the time where they go, oh, why would you buy a page for? It's just a page. It's not the book. I said, but you're missing the point here. This is a significant character that started the whole revolution of superheroes. You're not following this. If you got a page from the very first book of history from human beings, and it's actually just a page from, say, a book, what's the significance to it? It's a lot. It's not just the book itself. It's these pages that make up the book. And that
think about it, right? It's like the Declaration of Independence is just a page, exactly. But like it's what
It's like National Treasure with Nicolas Cage. That movie. It's the same. I feel like I'm in the same kind of way where how he just hunts for these things where it just gets the heart rate up. It just gets your adrenaline rushing because it's a huge rush when you actually acquire something that you're hunting for so long. So like for me, when I first started, like why did I get into Superman? Well, long story short, my mom and I used to watch Lois and Clark.
I love that show.
That was my show. That was my show. Yeah. My mom and I would watch that every Sunday night at 8:00. I would be drawn to that show. It was a quirky show. It was a goofy show, but you know what? It was something about it where it's just like, this is Superman. He's been around for like forever. It's like the greatest character ever created. That's the way I see it. That's how I look at it. And when I started to gravitate towards, that character-wise, I wanted to know a little more about the history to it. When did it come out? When was this appearance? When did this come out? When did the all these items from, like, say, from premiums to, like, say, advertisements? Like, I wanted it all. I wanted the history to it. So when I started watching the TV show on Sunday nights, I started gravitating towards, which is, when this big story came out back in '92 in November, the death of Superman, I was just like drawn to it. I said, that's what I want to get. That's how I started it. So I went to a few places in town. I tried to find it. I went to one place, didn't have it. I went to another place. And then when I went into the long boxes, all I could see was sitting inside there. As soon as I picked it out, I was just like, like a kid on Christmas morning. It just meant so much to me at that moment. So and for me, yeah.
I would say that's just funny. Like I legitimately did the same thing. Like we as a family, my brother's even a bigger Superman fan than me, but me, him, and my parents, we watched Lois and Clark at 8:00 every Sunday. I loved that show.
Yeah,
that's funny. I never watched that show, but there is no better scene in comic movie. Well, maybe the end game when Captain America got Mjolnir, but when that helicopter fell in the first Superman movie and he caught it, I think when he changed into the Superman outfit and got her, I thought that was still a great scene. I mean, I'll never forget that. And that first Superman I've seen 1,000 times, and I loved it. Christopher Reeve was and is always Superman in my opinion.
Is Lois and Clark or Superman, was that streaming on anything?
That was on ABC channel. I remember that at the time back in 8 o'clock on Sunday night.
I have them on DVD. I've never streamed them. Are on DVD.
I'm just curious. Like, are they available to stream now? Because that'd be cool to watch.
I'm not sure. I had the DVDs. My wife bought me all the DVDs from it. Like all this, I think it was like four or 5 seasons. It was, and that's the funny thing is they choreographed the whole. I think it was 97 to the words to the book of Death of Superman. So they wanted to choreograph as far as like saying. The writing they wanted, but the comic books didn't want to do it at the same time because they didn't want to start clashing with the TV show. So that was the thing where it's like, oh, that's kind of cool, actually, how they started kind of choreographing with the books. And then back in 97, 98, I never forgot, I was like hunting for Superman 1 book. I was like going, I got to have it. Pardon my language, fuck, I got to have it. It's just something I got to have, And I kept on looking online and because the internet was finally, prevalent for all of us to go online to see, to go hunting for books now, which made it a lot easier on eBay. And then I started looking, and then all of a sudden I found a copy online. It was at $5,000 for a good copy at the time. And then, but I was like still, kid, whatever you want to call it, and the 5,000 to me was like, like massive money. And I go to my mom and dad and said, you got to let me some money. You have to let me some money. and they go, what for? And they go, I want to buy a book. And they go, a book? Are you crazy?
I could imagine asking for $5,000 as a child for a comic book.
Yeah, I go, no, I gotta have it. I said, please. I said,
my grandma used to get mad asking for $1 to go to 7-Eleven for a comic book, let alone 5,000.
Yeah, 5,000. I says, are you nuts? So it's then all of a sudden, when I couldn't acquire at the time, it's just been inside me where it's like I just gotta get it. My collection's not complete unless I have it. It's just something where you collect things. You gotta have that one thing, or you just everything you collect for so long, it becomes to the point of that one thing makes everything a whole now. You know what I mean?
Well, that's so you watched Lois and Clark and then you wanted Death of Superman. You found that one, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then you're saying you wanted at that point when you finally got that book, at some point you wanted to get Superman 1.
Yeah.
Right. So
exactly.
That's like to me to fathom getting AF-15 or Spider-Man #1, like. I don't feel it's incomplete on my part, but that's interesting how that you at that point when you got that one, you said I got to have #1 at that point. Like that's interesting. Like
because to me, wise, it's like a pizza. There's one piece missing out of it, and some guys got it.
Yeah.
You don't have a full pie there, right? There's one piece is missing. It'll never be complete unless you got that one piece inside there. I don't care. You can convince yourself all you want, saying, "Oh, I'm happy with it. It's good to that." But there's always that one little thing inside you saying, "You know what? It ain't complete unless I get that piece there. I will not die a happy man unless that thing's inside there." You know what I mean? A lot of people could probably relate to that question. So,
Erol, let me ask you. Knowing all this, did you have dreams with Superman 1?
Yes. Yeah. I would go. Listen, how I acquired that book, it took a process. Like back in 2012, I've been collecting Superman books since 97, 98, when it came out. I collected the whole run from Death of Superman from the whole year. I put it together. I put that towards, reading it one book every night for a couple of months just to kind of just get my feet wet, so that was my passion towards that point. So then all of a sudden, speed forward about later, like 10, 12 years later, here comes the Avengers back in June of 2012. And all of a sudden it's like, Silver Age books are starting to become more prevalent out there where, hey, these are really cool here. Like I never dabbled before in Silver Age, but I've been collecting a lot of memorabilia and stuff like that from Superman from the early, 40s, so it's, to me wise, I go, that was a new era for me where I'm going, I could kind of, dabble in that aspect towards it. So when it started to go into 2012, Avengers came out. I met Stan Lee when he was at the convention here at the time in July.
Nice.
I just started collecting. I collected the Avengers #1 at the time because there's a huge movie. I was one of them who fell into it. So I bought a good, very good copy for like $400. Just put it aside. Wow. I put it aside, and then all of a sudden I started saying, this is kind of cool. So I put together a little collection going on. I said, it'd be cool to get X-Men 1, Tales of Suspense 39, Fantastic Four 1, and I started collecting them all. I just grabbed them. I said they were cheap at the time. X-Men 1s at the time when I was grabbing in 2012 were dirt cheap. Nobody wanted them. They just sat there. Like, I mean, the X-Men movies were out since the early 2000s, right? And all those movies were going out there, but was the book, skyrocketing? No one cared for it. It just sat there. You get a mid-grade copy for $2,000, which I bought it for. I bought a very fine, it's almost not very fine, but probably a Fantastic Four #1 for $2,000 also. I bought that too. Jeez. Stashed it away. Same thing with Tales of Suspense. It was a 39. I grabbed that for $1,000 only. It was like a mid plus grade, book. Just, I just found them, just started putting them aside. Because why? Because I valued them because they're the first appearances. You know what I mean? That's what I value them for. I wasn't thinking that going, well, these books are going to be worth 20, 30, 40,000 down the road. So, that was the last thing in my mind. I just want to put them aside. And then what happened was this. July or August of that year, I had acquired also in that collection of mine at the time was an AF-15. I bought it for, I think it was $2,500. It was like a very good grade. So, and I started thinking to myself, I said, you know what? There's something special about this book here. This book here is the Amazing Fantasy 15. It's the first appearance of Spider-Man. I said, if I put all my eggs in one basket, this book here is going to surpass all these other books because for what it is. There's only 3 characters out there that's got some more significance towards each other, and that's Superman, Batman, and Spider-Man. All those 3, that's it. Yeah. There's not Iron Man. There's not, Thor. There's not the Hulk. They are there, but they're not the big 3 books. You know what I mean?
Yeah, agreed.
Spider-Man was right there where AF-15 was the top of the list for grails of all grails of that character. So I started saying to myself, you know what? If I play my cards right, I could get a couple more of these books, put them aside, and then because the leverage I have with these books are way surpassed more than an X-Men 1, a Fantastic Four 1, because this book is more dear, more special to me, or even on the market than these other books can be combined together. So that's what I did. So I collected 3 of them, put them aside. I upgraded it. Then I put that aside. Then I grabbed another 3 or 4 more. I put that aside. Like I had all these pictures up on Instagram. It shows you how I have all these pictures. Like I took about 6 of them I had. I spaced them on me and my wife's bed. I just laid them all on the bedspread. I had 6 there, but I had 7. I couldn't put them all together. So I just took a picture of it and I go, man, that's fucking cool. Look at that. I got 7. 6, but I got, and I go, that's impressive. I go,
oh yeah.
So, and then I see the market going higher and higher. And I said, you know what? Time for me to upgrade these books now. I got these like 3 grade 2.5s. And I go, you know what? I want to upgrade it. So I started going online. There's some dealers I was finding. They would have some books on there. I said, you know what? You got a 4 or a 5.0. I want to give you 3 of my books for 1 of your book. And they go, sure, no problem. Because my book's liquid. Theirs is liquid. And easier for me to get rid of my books. But it's a lot harder to get rid of my books if the book is not in huge demand. That's the issue people are not looking at. If something is too easy to acquire, why would people want to say, well, why get it tomorrow, any day of the week? But an AF-15, that's special. That's a little bit higher, but that's a huge demand for it. So I started progressing where, I got into a 6.0 grade, put that aside. And then I had a couple more copies on the side, and I kept building it to a point where I picked up a 7.0 copy about a year and 2 months ago. That was the highest grade. I pushed it. I pushed my limit from this to that. You know what I mean? And that's how I did it. It just took a process because I found an opportunity wise where this book had something going for it. Unlike every other books you see today, you got like say New Mutants 98. You know, there's too many out there. Why bother? You know what I mean? There's like X-Men number 101, First Phoenix. Why bother? It's just there's too many out there. You know what I mean? I can get them any day of the week. I want something special in the book.
Did you see? Two things I'm going to say real quick. One, in our first episode, JP and I, so we just started collecting again recently. And in our first episode, we actually asked that question, like, when we watched those X-Men movies in the early 2000s, were the books going up then? And now, you're letting us know that, no, it really didn't move them. No. So that's interesting. And then two, I was going to say, did you see on Monday, I can't remember what site it's on, but there's a 9.2 AF-15 that the auction ends on Monday. So I'll be interested to see what that goes for.
I think it should go for $1 million because it's a 9.2. Like as soon as, like I said, every point of a book has got a certain level where it's going to go into. Like say, for instance, you got how many copies of it? Say AF-15 at 0.5, 1.0, 2.0, 3.0. There's a limbo level to that book where you go into. So if let's say, for instance, you buy that book at a 3.0 and you pay say $30,000 right now at the time of the market, like say from after like it's been going for the past few years, it's gone up and down, and now it's kind of like leveling off to a certain level. Now you're thinking to yourself, okay, if I buy 30,000, what's the potential to it? Well, everything has a potential to it, but it depends on how many are in that grade level. If there's 300 or 350 in that grade level, it's going to trickle in value to a certain level because there's so many copies out there. Like any given time, you can find a copy like tomorrow, the next day, or the next day. But when you see a copy that comes up every so often, like maybe every 6 months or maybe a year, that has a super higher demand for because they don't come out often. And when the people see doesn't come out often, they'll pay more money for it at the time.
Yeah. I mean, there's that top FF1 was a 9.2, and that went for 1.5 million.
Mm-hmm. Spider-Man should go for more than that, right?
Well, yeah, and then so the record Spider-Man AF-15 is a 9.6, and that was I think 3.6 million.
3.6. So, the thing is, I think the guy overpaid for it. Honestly.
Yeah, I think that was during the. I think that was not too long ago. So I think it was during maybe the.
That was September of 2021.
Oh yeah, so then right in the middle. There you go, right in the middle of that kind of boom that everyone talks about.
So it was like the big story. Like that book has not been sold for almost 10 years. It was a huge story, and everybody else was calling me. It was like texting me, "Erol, did you see that book? You went toward, I think it was $3.6 million." I said, "I sure did." And they go, well, "You have your AF-15 7.0?" I said, "I sure do." They go, "What do you want to do with it?" I go, "Well, I think I'm going to hold it, but I got little better plans with that book." I go, now I'm looking at the Golden Age era books. I'm looking at the book that I want the most. Superman 1. I'm looking at what can I get now, because I know my book is liquid. I know I got the potential now to take that book I have and get something I want even more. So,
so is that you said that AF-15 and 9.6 had a story to it? Is that what you said?
Yeah, because
you said it had
9.6 has not been sold for over 10 years. It just sat there for 10 years. So I guess the person who bought it for $1 million back in the day, I'm not sure if it's the same copy that sold in 2021. It might have been, but from 2000, I think it was 2010 or 12. It went for $1 million. That was the highest. That was the highest book that was paid for up until Action Comics 1 beat that one first. So it was a silver age.
Oh wow!
So, yeah, that's the potential you have with these higher grade books, like levels.
So then, with the story on yours, though, you were about to get into that. So there was a story on that 9.6, but the story on yours, you were just about to say it. How you got it.
So for me, wise, when I got my 7.0 from a trade from a dealer. Because I took a massive amount of my collection. Like I had 3 or 4 copies of AF-15 still stashed away. They had a value to, I'm not sure, close to $100,000 or even past that. Then I took some other books I had Spider-Man number 1. It was a 4.0 white page. I had number 2. I had number 3, number 4, number 5. I mean, I had them all. I had them all in white pages, all mid-grade levels I had. Because at the time when I was collecting those Amazing Spider-Man books about 4 or 5 years ago, I wanted to get a good level where it's like a mid-grade is perfect because there's potentially higher growth rates at a mid-grade than say a 1 or 2.0 grade. So mid-grades with a white page, covered or interior, is going to have a little more desirable effect, as far as like someone wanting it, because at the time when I got them, they're like going for just under $1,000 each piece. So I'm going, well, the potential to this book, it's going to go at least double. There's no question in my mind. You know what I mean? Because this is Silver Age book classic. Like first Mysterio or first, Doc Ock, all these, even like I said, Green Goblin, all these books. It pained me to kind of like going, well, you know what? The opportunity came to bank all these books into a 7.0 AF-15. I didn't even hesitate. I go, I'll do it tomorrow, no problem. The guy knew he'll make money off my books. I knew I wanted his book, and I made the deal towards it. I boxed up 6 big boxes I had, put all my books inside there, FedExed it out to him. And when I got my books back, like from him, I couldn't be more happier. I go, people will be saying, oh, you got rid of all like 30 books, 25 books. These are amazing books. I go, but you're missing the point here. I already had them. I don't care to keep going, to keep keeping them for next to 10, 20 years. I've had them. I want to just move on. I want to go up the ladder to a certain level where it's like, it's a hunt. It's like going after that white whale. I already have these other little smaller fishes over here. That's fine, because there's plenty more out there. I can always have them tomorrow if I want to. It doesn't really bother me.
Sounds like Rohan.
Yeah. But when you look at these other books, like say Action Comics 1 or Sensation 1 or, Detective 31, 33 or, 27, these books are hard to find. They're like the true grail of all grail books that people like hunt for, and dream about. You know what I mean? Like tomorrow I could get a say at ASM number 3, big deal. It's a Doc Ock, okay? It's out there, so I can still buy it if I want to, but it doesn't drive me to want to buy it. I don't really like have a drive for it. I drive for something that's got a little bit more historic events to it. The rarity to it.
So how did you get to Superman 1? Like, did you the story behind that? Yeah, was it had to do with the AF-15 somehow, or?
Yeah, I use the AF-15 as leverage, because now that book to me is that it's the top of the Silver Age books of all books, next to Showcase 4. But Spider-Man will always surpass Showcase 4 no matter what, because Spider-Man's more popular.
Yeah,
just
totally.
It's the
Flash. It's the Flash.
Always will be. Yeah. So to me, I had the top tier of the book of all books of the Silver Age. That was my leverage to get into what I wanted. I could have done that with an X-Men 1 or a Fantastic Four number 1. I could have done that. It's impossible, because when you're thinking about going, well, unless it was a higher grade, yeah, sure. But then the census counts, you're going, the higher the census count for any book that is out there, then you're almost like you're battling yourself for going, well, is everybody going to want this book at this grade if there's too many copies? But with my grade I had, there was way surpassed the 5.0s or 6.0s. You get a little bit more higher now. It's like a little more something special because they're higher grade. So when I found my comic shop from Steve Borak, who actually bought my book, I couldn't praise the guy more. The guy was fantastic. Like, I love that guy. He's absolutely one of the most knowledgeable persons in the whole industry of comic books. Steve Borak.
That's mycomicshop.com.
Yeah, I've been talking with him. I talked to him. He's a good friend of mine. Like, I mean, I love the guy. He's so much full of knowledge. He's just down to earth. You know what I mean? Like, when I approached him, to have the book sold, he took my book, and I couldn't thank him enough. I made the deal, and then what happened was I noticed that there was a book from the San Diego Comic-Con that was floating around. It was the Superman 1 book there, and I got a hold of the guy who was selling it, and I made him an offer, and I had the funds for it. So you know what? I didn't hesitate 1 second of that money that I had to go put that book. Like, I mean, I put all my faith, I put all my soul, everything into that book with that money I put in there. And that's how confident I was. Sometimes when a person puts money into something, they get very nervous and they get very hesitant. But for me wise, no, none of that. Absolutely not.
So Erol, let me ask, so you leveraged up AF-15 to a 7.0. Mm-hmm. What did you sell that for?
If you guys want to know,
it's up to you if you want to tell us. But I mean,
if you're open to share,
yeah. or I mean, you can. Yeah, it's up to you. But I mean, like, that's how you got the funds from that.
It was well over 100,000. Let's just put it that way. It was over 100,000.
So that you got the leverage from that to get to Superman 1.
Superman 1.
Yeah. Like my initial putting at the time when I was collecting these AF-15s, how I first started, like Jason puts it, Omega collects a road to a key. That's what it's about. You set your path on what you want. if you don't envision what you want, you're not going to get there. We have to envision what you want. You know what I mean? Without a plan, you go around in circles all the time. You have to have a plan of what you actually want to acquire. You know, you can't be distracted about, look at this book. Wait a second. Look at this book over here. But wait a second. Don't you want the X-Men #1? Well, yeah, but this book over here looks good. It wasn't in question for me. I knew what I wanted long term. You know, and I did what I had to do to get there. I had no roadblocks of, I should get this book. I should get this book. Those to me are Mickey Mouse books. I don't care for them. You know what I mean? They're too easy to get. If it's too easy to get for me, I'm not surprised by them. You know.
So when you had that cash from AF-15, then was that all you needed then for Superman 1, or did you have to work a little more, or was that boom?
No, I had more than enough. I had more than enough for my deal to buy that and also buy another book on top of that. The other book I bought on top of it, I'll show you over here, was a rare book at this grade. Like it was like one of the top books next to Superman 1, which I wanted. And this book rarely ever comes out in high grades. And when they do, there's less than 10 copies of them that come out. So.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, nice. Yeah. That's JP. Isn't that the one you showed me that day we were talking about it? Isn't that one?
That one came on, but I think it was like a 1.0 or something. That's the flag.
Yeah. It was much lower grade, obviously.
Yeah, but that's
Yeah,
that's beautiful.
Like that's the most iconic cover from all of Superman issues, like the black patriotic cover. And at the grade that comes in, you don't find them often. Maybe one a year, maybe if you're lucky, you find that. Mm-hmm. And when it comes out, you have to pay a pretty penny for it because they don't come out often. Because the black cover is so susceptible to having a lot of dings on it, and a lot of scratches all over it. So to get that kind of grade for a book that's over 80 years old, you don't see that. That to me awesome. Drives me for collecting. You know, having something that's like, you know, more rare out there to have.
Here, speaking of that, here's something I found when I first started collecting. Now, this isn't the original. This is a reprint. I don't know if you can see it.
That's cool. Yeah.
Okay, so this is the reprint from '74, I think, but it's the first
blonde hair.
Your blonde hair, right? I don't know if it's something you ever look for, but that.
Yeah, I saw a copy yesterday. Actually, I'm looking at buying it.
Okay. Yeah,
we're gonna talk about that coming up.
But like,
I gotta have it.
It's the hunt of it. Like when I started in looking for books, you know, I heard a YouTube video about it. I would have never known what it was, and I walked into an antique store and I saw it in a glass case and thought, wow, I just struck gold. But then again, it was the reprint and it wasn't gold. But I mean, again, it's a cool piece to have that represents that.
Yeah.
But that is a rare book, and that was one of my next questions. If we want to get into it, though, Rohan, is you know, you talk about those other books that are Mickey Mouse books, right? That Rohan's kind of the same way, where he's willing to get rid of a bunch of those little books to get that big book. I more keep the little books in some cases because they were ones I wanted in the 90s and never got. But like you got to collect what you like, and I get that that part of it.
Exactly.
But, so you get rid of those, and you got Superman 1, right? Now what?
Wait, do you have your Superman 1 there, Errol?
Yeah, I do.
You do?
Let's pull it out to it.
Pull her out.
I saw it when he pulled it out on Lawrence's on pod, so I've seen it, but like JP, this thing is awesome.
I'm always had a heart attack.
And you just got this, you said about a year ago?
This one I got I got this one about 5-6 months ago.
Oh, wow. Holy crap.
Like Matt Nelson, guy's great. Like he goes, Errol, you're the one that bought it. I said, yeah, I'm the one that got the book. He goes, let me tell you, he said, that is probably the nicest 0.5 grade I've ever seen. He goes, it just represents so nice. Like, and I go,
yeah. And for those that don't know, Matt Nelson is the president of CGC.
Yeah, he's a great guy. Yeah.
You know, you're doing pretty well whenever the guy from CGC knows who you are. Look at that. That's awesome.
Man, look at that. That is sweet. So, Errol, 0.5.
0.5, nice. That presents awesome.
It's just the cover presents probably like a 5-6. It's so clean for what it is. You know what I mean? Like the back pinup cover is missing, right? Because obviously the kids back in the day, they had, you know, with the big scissors cut out the big pinup in the back, and it was normal. You know, that's why not many survived. So, but for this book to survive the way it is in the condition it's in now is a miracle. You know what I mean? Like for the cover to be unrestored and be so clean how it is, how it presents. Like there was a 4.0, I think it sold last week on, I think it was Heritage.
517. 517.
Yeah, my cover blows that cover away, like by far. You know what I mean?
Well,
Like,
what's crazy? So it was a 4.5. It sold for 517.
Yeah.
I think 8 months ago there was a 4.0, but it was much cleaner, cleaner, and that sold for 800,000.
But if you looked at the cover though, that was a second printing. If you noticed it.
Because I didn't even know. I didn't even learn of second printings until you posted that on Friday.
There's three printings. There was a 500,000 first printing. There was a 200,000 second printing, and a third printing of 150,000. So in total, 950,000 copies were done. So if you look at my copy, you can tell on the S on there, it's a very thin black, like a very thin black line around it. You know what I mean? The black.
Uh-huh.
It's the outlines. If you look at the one on Heritage that's sold, or the other 4.0, it's got thicker black lines all around it. It looks like it's a miscut, like the printing on it. It's a lot thicker, the black, the ink on it. So that's how you can tell.
And then how do you tell a third print? How do you tell a third printing?
Third, you can't. I'm not sure on the third printing wise, because like the second printing could almost be the same as the third one. You know, from what I know is because there's only 175, 176 copies of Superman 1 out there. There's only 75 unrestored. So, you know, the guess is there.
Out of those million copies, that's all that's left.
That's all that's left. That's all that's left.
And that's between first, second, and third printings?
Second and third print, like I said, out of all the 175 copies, like 3/4 of them are all restored. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like 3/4, almost like 60% are all restored. So it was normal practice back in the day before grading companies came out. It was a normal practice. People did that to the Declaration of Independence, all these important documents, just to preserve the history. It was a normal practice to do it. You can't be like when someone says, "Oh, I got to restore a copy of, say, Action 1," that it shouldn't be shined upon, because that was normal to keep the book preserved the way it's supposed to have been. You know, like nobody like if it was like deteriorated, what's the best way to do it? You have to restore it to a certain extent. You know, so that's the way to keep it. So for me, wise, you know, it was an option of having this book I picked up, or a restored copy I was looking at. And when this book came up for option for me, I go, you know what? If I got an option to get a blue grade all day long, the way it presents, you know, I'm all over it. You know what I mean? Like, you know, yeah, sure, the back covers, the pinup's gone, but, you know, it is what it is. You know what I mean? Like some kid, God bless him, he put it on his wall somewhere, but the book still kept intact. I still have the whole book inside, no matter what.
So Erol, my question was, though, of the 175 unrestored copies, is that combined first, second, and third printing?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Okay.
So what printing is yours?
Mine's first.
So when it comes to first, second, third, there's not a whole lot left of all anyway. No. But which is the more expensive copy, the third or the first print?
The first
if they're the same group.
If you put it into category wise, like the one book that sold for, I think it was 5 million. It was like an 8.0. I think it was a mile high.
8.0, yeah.
That was a first printing. You could tell on the cover. Like any kind of cover you see, like I said, if you see the S, all the outlines really thick and black, that's not a first printing.
Okay.
Got it.
That's it's interesting because I guess because it's the first Superman and the first print, that's why it demands the most. Whereas the third print, which is even rarer, right? There's less copies of it. Yeah. So books today, when they're third print and rare, they can command more. But because this has to be the first run of it, because
you can't tell.
Yeah,
majority you can't tell. We can tell some of it, but since the historic, you know, significance to this book, someone's not going to say, "Well, I'll give you 100,000 less because it's a second." They won't do that because this book is too scarce. It's just you got the first superhero of all time here. That'll never happen. It's 80 plus years now.
What do you think in return and to this Superman versus Action Comics 1? Which cover do you like better?
This cover by far.
This cover, I think the yellow.
Yeah,
this one.
This cover is definitely better, no doubt. Yeah. No doubt.
It draw me to it. Like when I started collecting, it just the whole cover just draw. Like Action 1 is a dream book. Don't get me wrong. Like if it came for me to get a low grade like Action Comics 1 and sacrifice my book to get that, I would do it, no problem.
You would get rid of this book for that one.
I would, yeah, because it's the first Superman book ever created. Like this is the first solo book ever. It's got the origin. It's like probably, like I said, it's the top 3 book of all time as far as like a significant books go. You know, next to like say Detective and Action 1. Then you have Marvel 1. Then you have Batman 1. You have Captain America 1. But where do you put this book? It's top 3 because it's the very first solo book ever created from one character. You know?
Yeah. I would agree with that. Where do you just keep it at your house normally? Where do you store it?
No, I keep it in a safe place.
Yeah. Yeah, there's no getting. Yeah, that
You
thing's
ain't
got
coming.
lasers around it.
You ain't coming to my house.
Yeah. Well, I just didn't know if you were like a safety deposit box or
Could
or
be.
had like had a vault or
could be the backyard in the ground somewhere.
yeah.
I had a guy, I worked for a bank, and we used to have people go back in their safe deposit box to get stuff out. And normally it's like, the will or some paper products. I went to pull out the box he had, and it fell down. It was full of like gold coins and all kind of stuff. It was so heavy. I mean, almost killed someone. That's how much stuff he had in that safe deposit box. I didn't expect it. Just dropped right down. Mostly they're pretty light, but that one was full of crap in there. So yeah, at least it's got to be safe.
Yeah.
Airtight and safe. So
a lot of books. Yeah, a lot of gold. Must have been Scrooge McDuck, probably, huh?
Yeah, definitely. But that was my question, and I pose this, myself, is the hunt's never over.
No,
for me,
no.
It just keeps going. So now that you got this book, and then you already said it, you would trade this for Action 1.
If an opportunity came where it's like you're always trying to seek the next thing, where it's like, well, how much further can I go? Like for me, wise, like I go online like every day. I go look for something. Like it's not a chore. It just comes instinctively. I go online and look for a lot of stuff where something I don't keep hunting for. Historic things. There was an auction on Hakes about I think it was two months ago. There was an item on there I've been looking for years. Couldn't find it. It's one of the hardest premiums from Superman that ever came out. One of the earliest ones. It was probably one of the most coveted premiums ever to come out. And I was like looking for it. It doesn't hardly ever come out because there's less than 10 out there that's been known to be shown. So when the opportunity came out where it was actually for auction on Hakes 2 months ago, I went deep into it. I said, you know what? They're estimating how high. I go, you know what? It is what it is, but I'll see how I can get it. And I said, what the hell with it? I'm going to go for it because I that's kind of cool to actually have to put that in my collection for what I have. Because I mastered so much.
Is it a comic? What number is it?
No, it's not a comic. No, it's a premium. It's back in the day when this Superman book came out, you'll see in the middle in the centerfold, it'll say Superman of America inside there. Cut for the badge you have this little place you got to put your name inside, clip it out. That's why some of these books have these clippings inside there where they're clipped out because you want to join the Superman of America. Cut this, cut here in the book. That's why, like, say Hulk 181. Everyone's trying to find the book wise where there's nothing's been cut out. You know what I mean? Because back in the day, it was normal. It wasn't. Right. They're not going to say, well, hey, if I cut this out now, it won't be worth as much 40 years down the road. Well, who's going to say that? There's none of that stuff. So when I saw on the auction site, I picked up this piece here. That's one of the earliest premiums ever to come out from Superman. It's a badge.
Oh wow!
Like it's the size of my hand. It's the size of my hand. Wow. It's one of the earliest premiums ever to come out. It's beyond rare. These things.
I've never even heard of these.
Oh, I know so much on this history of Superman on like premiums to, like the Fleischer cartoon series back in the 1940s, the early 40s. I've got like model pieces like head shots from it. If you ever watched the Batman animated series, well, it was modeled after the Fleischer series back in the early 40s. So
I remember as a kid watching those black and white Superman cartoons.
Yes. So, but the one from Superman back in 1940-41 from the Fleischer series. Now, this is the thing is Paramount wanted the cartoon series out, but the Fleischer brothers didn't want to do it because it was so much involved. And so they gave them a crazy amount of money to say, okay, you know what? If they want this, we don't really want to do it, but we'll just give them some outrageous number. And Paramount says, go with it. And there you go. That was history right there. The first cartoons ever came out from Superman. So when that first came out back in that era, I wanted to find some kind of like things from it, like say, cells from it, or like say drawings from it, or something from it. You know what I mean? Like that's still out there after 80 some years. That I was hunting around. Back in like early 2000, I noticed that this one little shop up in Pennsylvania had the actual artist guide. It was like almost like the Superman heads from like this, and it was all from it was a big piece, and it just sat there at the studio there. And I said, "Oh my God!" I said, "This is like really rare to have." They had it for like $250, like 20 some years ago, and I go, "I gotta have it." When I got it, it came in a big roll tube. It came right from the studio. I put that away, and I was like so wrapped about it. I was just like, "Oh, this means a lot just to have that piece of history." And then on top of that, there's like a window card that came from the actual series. It was a Superman piece. I have it stored away. It's just so much boxes I have. It was hard for me to pull it out, but it was like a window card. I bought that like probably 12, 15 years ago. I just go hunting and I go on daily, just searching, because the more I search online, the more you're gonna find. Because someone will say, "Oh, gee, I'm not gonna ever have that. Oh, I can't find that. It's just too hard to find." I go, "Well, because you're not looking. If you look for something hard enough, you'll find it. It might take a long time, but you might find it. You know what I mean?" So for me, wise, that's just how I always find these treasures I have. It's just historic events. I love putting them all together in a big collaboration. Like, I'll show you one thing here I have as well. Like, this is rare too. My wife, she got this for me about 10 years ago. It was their very first action figure, came out from Superman back in 1940, 41. It was the wooden doll you have here.
Look at that.
That's cool.
You know what I mean? It's got the original cape and everything to it. Like, some kid played with this. This is the first action figure ever came out. This is history
before
here.
G.I. Joe, yeah. Look at that.
Yes, It's made out of wood. It's all like there's joints and stuff. It's just even a cape that survived still intact. How they put it together with these two little pinholes in the back here. Like, I mean, this is the stuff that drives me to collect. Wise, where it's like, if someone like me doesn't collect it, and it just gets lost in the universe somewhere else, people will never know it exists. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That's how you archive things. You know what I mean? That's how it's done. It's people like myself who are just drawn to collect these things. One day I could say, "Hey, you know what? I'll give it to a museum one day and say, here you go." On consignment, or that's how things are just done. It's just the people's passion of what they collect. Like I said before, if something's too easy for me to get, I don't care for it. I want something that's going to drive me to go, to another level where it's like, that's how we are all as collectors. It's a drive you have to have.
You got to make a documentary about all this stuff, Erol.
Yeah. Like, it's to me, wise, it's a no-brainer. Like I collect what I love. I don't do it like to say, well, I got this piece because it's going to be worth so much money down the road. It's to me, wise, it's just like archiving it all and putting it together. Yeah, there's a lot of value to it, but I'm never ever once thinking of saying, "Oh, this is going to be worth at least $300,000-$400,000." And then what happens is that if something doesn't manifest itself, what happens is you set yourself up for a failure and say, "Well, it didn't do what I wanted to," and then you get upset about it. And look what happened like last year. The whole market starts collapsing to a certain point because people didn't want those books because they bought them at the wrong time. That's the sad part. You always got to buy something that you appreciate, because if you don't appreciate it, you sell it off because you don't care for it.
Yeah. Yeah. So when it comes to thinking about what's next, you just kind of constantly are on the hunt, and whatever kind of comes up that pokes your interest is kind of what you're after. There's not like a specific one again right now.
No, there's a book I picked up about a month and a half ago. Like I love collecting some certain Spider-Man books, and for me, like if it's a book that I kind of go, you know what, it's a little bit harder to get, and it's got meaning to me where I want to keep it, I want to put it to my collection wise, then I'll gravitate towards it, because this is like one of my favorite books in the whole Spider-Man run, next to Lawrence's. Like, I know he says the same thing, like from Mighty Comics and Collectibles. Like, this book to me, and also to him, is one of the most significant books of ever.
Yeah, 39.
I got that at a 9.0. I said, I want that book in a 9.0. Like I said, I'll do whatever I have to get a 9.0. It was so hard to come by. As soon as I saw the opportunity come by, I said, you know what, hell with it. I just want it. So, and it wasn't due to the fact of going, oh, it's going to be worth at least $10,000 and then a couple of years down the road. It's not about that. It's collect what you want and love what you collect. That's all I got to do.
On that note, so you sold the AF-15 7.0. Do you have any AF-15s left?
No, I sacrificed them all for it. Sacrificed them all. I had to. To me, I do it all over again. No,
100%. So you showed us the Superman flag book, the ASM 39. Give us a little quick rundown, maybe, of what else is your top that you have, maybe in your top 10, we'll say, if you have it. You don't have to show them, you don't have to pull them out.
Oh, I have one. I have one book I want to show. Like, this is The Death of Superman, right?
Oh yeah.
But this one's signed from Jerry Siegel though, back in '97, before he passed away.
Oh, yep. Nice.
You see his signatures on top. See it?
Yep.
Yeah.
That one I wanted for so many years. I finally found a dealer who was selling it. It was a nice minty condition. And I go, that book, like I said, got me started in the whole collecting wise. To actually have one of the creators, sign it, I'm gold. That to me is like, someone could say, I'll give you $3,000 for it. I don't want it. That's my book. You know what I mean?
You gonna submit it to CBCS to get it graded?
No, I'll go to CGC because it'll be a green label, but it doesn't matter because it was signed way before CGC ever came to light. So that's got the certificate of authenticity as well.
That's what I mean. CBCS will, if the certificate's there, they'll verify it and you'll have it.
Yeah.
But I
know it's from his. Yeah, because I know it's from his because it was signed from it was from Dynamic Forces back in the day because it's on the back of it. You know what I mean? The certificate.
Oh yeah.
You know what I mean?
So you would submit it to CGC and you're okay with that?
Yeah, but to me, wise, like, does it need to be CGC? No, I don't care for it because, like I said, he signed it, and to me, wise, it doesn't matter if it goes to 9.8, 9.6. It doesn't matter. Right. To me, it's been signed by one of the the holiest creators of all comic books. You know what I mean?
Well, getting it graded at least just preserves it. That's all. Sure. I mean, it doesn't. If you don't care about label color, then I would send it to CGC. But I know CBCS is better with signatures if you have the certificate and it wasn't witnessed. But
to me, wise, like I said, it's got so much like historic meanings to me, wise, as far as like Jerry Siegel signed it. It's too bad Joe Shuster wasn't around when he signed. When he was around.
Oh yeah,
that'd been really cool. That'd been nice to have.
That might be the next thing to look for is to find one sign with both of them.
It can't because Joe Shuster died way before the death of Superman.
Oh, he did. Okay. Yeah. Then I guess that'd be a grail.
Real quick, just so we for people that may be listening that don't know, Jerry Siegel, Joe Shuster are the two creators of Superman. Like this Superman 1, Action 1, those are those guys.
Siegel was the writer, Shuster was the artist. And Shuster was from Toronto. And the thing if you look at the Daily Planet was actually modeled after the Daily Star from Toronto. So it's got Canadian heritage to it.
Nice. Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah, so the Daily Star actually was modeled from the Daily Planet. And also Joe Shuster had a cousin. He used to have there's a cousin back in Toronto. Like I used to watch a show called Wayne and Shuster. It was a comedy act with these two guys. And I think it was Joe Shuster. Well, actually, no, sorry, it was Wayne. I think it was Wayne. It was one of the guys. I think it was Wayne Shuster. I said he was one of the actual comedians on the show, and that was actually Joe Shuster's cousin. Actually, so it was kind of amazing. I had to see that connection there. I was like, oh my god, this is actually the cousin from Joe Shuster. I said. It was incredible, yeah. He's got some Canadian heritage to it, which is cool. He moved to Cleveland, Ohio, and there we go.
I always thought that Gotham was supposed to be after Chicago and Metropolis was New York City. So now it definitely, knowing what you said, Toronto makes better sense there. But
yeah, so it's got some Canadian roots to it, which is kind of cool because it's like we fight for truth, justice, and the American way. Well, I think some Canadian ways well too.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah,
a little bit of red blood in him there. So
yeah, exactly.
Yeah, that's awesome.
But so we usually try to keep these to about an hour long, and I think you gave us a lot of great information. Great story. I mean, my biggest thing, like I said earlier, is the hunt never ends. So your next target is there's you're saying you're looking online for stuff, whatever may come up in that rare area, but is there a specific comic book that you're Action 1? Is that the one you're looking for if it comes up, or is there
an Action 1 would be nice, but the percentage or thing to me after ever getting that book is probably almost like hitting the lottery. It's just there's too little out there. Too many people are holding on to it. You know what I mean? So for me, wise to acquire what I've acquired, like I'm happy. Like I honestly, like there's things where people like that could collect so many books and more books and more books and having like, hundreds and then thousands of books in their collection and go, are these really making you happy? There has to be a time where you got to be content with what you have. Sure, I'll add a little more extra books, but still, there's got to be a level to where does that happiness stop?
Well, when you reach the peak, you're done climbing, right? So is that what you mean? You basically reached your.
I've climbed. The thing is, I've gone down to the bottom. I've climbed the top of to the mountain where I've wanted to get. To get to. There's nothing for me at the time when I wanted to get where I got to. To say, well, once I get to this level, I want to go some other level. That wasn't my goal. My goal was to get this book because it meant so much to me. Whether it be like a Captain America 1 or a Detective 33 or 31 or 27, this was the only book in my radar that was obtainable still. It was still there. It was just, action was almost at the time when I started looking at books was at a level where it's like, there's too scarce. They're just like, if you get one, you're more than blessed to have it. But if you don't, this was the second best thing to have.
Mm-hmm. So here's a question for you then, Erol, real quick. We kind of defined earlier the top 3 books: Action 1, Tech 27, Superman 1. Mm-hmm. You said you would trade Superman 1 for Action 1. Would you do the same, Superman 1 for Tech 27, even though Batman's not as special to you?
I like Batman, but Superman's always been my thing. Always been my thing. It's just this book to me, like, completes my collection of what I've collected so far. It makes my pizza pie a whole. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. So then,
if I was to swap it for a Detective 27, yeah, I could do that. If it was the same value to value, I still keep my book no matter what. The thing for me was, is it worth me risking to go into something where I don't really like have a driving passion for? No, I don't.
Yeah.
Like, for me wise, this was the book to get of all books. Like, this was my book where, everyone has to have their certain point where does your collecting abilities, where does that end? Like, there has to be an end game, no matter what you collect. Mm-hmm. You can't say, well, I got 500 books, so I'll be happy if I got 600. I'll be happy if I get 700. I go, well, if half your books are sitting in boxes and stuff, how could you care for them so much? You can't appreciate them that much. Like, it can't be. It's not possible. It's like going to a buffet. If you got a buffet that's got 100 dishes out there, you got to grab all of them and say, I love them all the same as everything else. It's impossible.
Right.
Yeah.
You have to. You're gonna cherish your collection a lot deeper. If you're searching for, if your goal is to get a Hulk 21, go grab it. Do what you have to do to grab it. Or if it's like, say, an X-Men 1 or AF-15, I've gone way past that now. Like, it doesn't faze me that what I've done. They go, well, someone's always going, well, I haven't had an AF-15. All that's my dream book of all dream books. That's great. You know what? I give you all the credit to say, just go after it. Do what you have to do. Use what you have to do in your collection to get there. But if you say to yourself, that book is something I want more that's in my collection, like what I did, then sacrifice it. That's the only thing you can do. Because at the end of the day, how long are you gonna keep it for?
Yeah. No, that's kind of what JP and I were talking about, what he would say, but that's how I talk. Mm-hmm. Like, when we talked about our 181 hunt, and I was like, I'd put my Hulk 340, which is the Wolverine and the reflection of the Hulk on the cover, and I was like in the trade pool for that. And JP's like, oh, I could do. I was like, well, there's a thing, right? Like, to me, this is the rematch. If I get the original, the rematch is no longer needed.
Now, here's a question though: if you once you acquire that 181, is there anything else in your hindsight or something else that you want more than that? Is there?
Well, so I would say, like, obviously, if someone's like, hey, Rohan, do you want the Superman 1? I'll trade you it for Hulk 181.
No.
I would obviously do that. But what you said about Superman is, so for me, my 3 growing up were Wolverine, Silver Surfer, and Batman, right? Mm-hmm. So for me, Hulk 181, even though, as we talk about, you could go buy 10 of them tomorrow.
Sure.
If you have the money for it.
Sure.
But having Hulk 181 is completing that pizza for me. So once I get it, it is one I do want to hope to hold on to.
Yeah, that's the thing. It's like, whenever you collect something, appreciate it. It's like, something could happen to you tomorrow or the next day or something else. You know what I mean? Then you're not here. Okay, it's just that's part of life. Okay.
Yeah.
So, but let people out there go, well, then what happens is this. Now, say you're married, you've got kids or something like that, and you have to think about this. oh, okay, I got 1,000 books. It's in my closet here. It's in my long boxes. And then, you know, like, say, you know, God forbid something happens to you tomorrow. And all of a sudden your wife's left with all these big, all these boxes of books now. What is she going to do with it all now? You know what I mean? It comes to the point. Yes, a yard sale, a garage sale. She's one of those, she's going to say, you know, part of my language would say, fuck it. You know what I mean? I'll just get rid of it. You know what I mean? Why are you collecting all this stuff for? I have no idea why. But for me, my wife knows exactly what I've collected, how much this stuff means to me, and what the value to it is. I wouldn't want to go to a point where it's saying, well, here you go, honey. I left you 500 books of mine, you know, in case something ever happens. You know, that's not fair. You know what I mean? Like, there has to be a point where appreciate it. Like have what you have, look at it, adore it, and go, you know what? I'm content. You know what I mean? Like when I see people out there online on other YouTube channels, oh, I had this on a Grail book. Oh, this is a Grail book tomorrow. Oh, this is another Grail book. Oh, I have this another book. Oh, look at this haul I got this week. I go, really? When does that end? I go, you got another Grail book? I thought you got a Grail book last week. Well, no, this Grail book is way more than that Grail book. I go, like, where does it end? You know, there has to be an end game. Like for me, Superman 1 was my end game. Like I can't, no matter what I do now, I can't surpass it unless I take the other books I have and try to upgrade the level to it. But there's no other book that I wanted more. This was it. Mm-hmm. You know, I could die a happy man now. So you know what? I finally acquired what I wanted to acquire after 20-some plus years. You know what? Now I'm you know what? This is everyone as a collector has to have a goal to seek what you want, get off that bucket list. This is my bucket list. You know, if I don't get an Action 1, I don't care. That's fine. If I don't get a Detective 27, that's fine. You know, I got what I wanted. You know, I worked for it and I really worked hard for it. And that's the only thing that you do. If you want something bad enough, you have to work hard for it. It just doesn't come overnight. Impossible. It took me 20-some years to get to what I wanted. You know, if someone says, oh, you're a lucky guy that you got that book, I wasn't lucky. I worked for it. You know what I mean? Yeah. How does a person have a house and have a person have a car? They work for it. You know, it doesn't come laughing on their lap and saying, here you go. You know, if you want something bad, you have to plan for it. If you want to get somewhere, if you want to go on a trip, you plan for it. You just don't go, well, here it is, and here it comes. You have to have a plan for it. If you don't write it down or put it in your subconscious mind saying, this is what I want, and constantly keep thinking about it, it will manifest itself. I swear to you it will. I've done it with AF-15s. I've had over 15 copies of that book.
It's crazy.
15.
Oh, jeez.
You know, I've had it. I like, to me, wise people look at me going, how the hell did you? I go, I just bought it at the right time. I saw an opportunity. I knew how significant that book was, and it helped me get to where I wanted to get to. You know what I mean? Now it's more difficult because all these books are so sky high now. I go, you can't predict on how much it's going to be having growth rates because it's so high in value. But when you get in there at a certain amount of time where it's a certain amount of level, then that's your golden opportunity. That's where you walk inside saying, this is it. I feel in my gut, this is how it's going to come out to be. You have to believe in it. Yeah. I believe in it. When I did it back in 2012, I just believed in myself. So you know what? I'm just going to keep rolling with it. I went to bed every single night. I need another AF-15. I need an AF-15. I need another one. I kept on thinking and kept buying them because I believed in it. You know? I didn't want a Thor 1. I didn't want a Thor, like say Journey to Mystery 83. I didn't care for it. Doesn't matter to me. Like people say, well, this is a Grail book. Yeah, but it doesn't rock my boat. I don't care for it. You know? Yeah. The only thing I cared for is what I acquired. So it's like I said, if I could do it, anyone can do it. It's not rocket science. You just work for it. You know?
Yeah, I have a heart. The 90s, that the comic book industry, Rohan and I talked about this, where things kind of fell off towards the end, and you don't really recall it, Rohan, right? You said that.
Yeah,
I saw it in the comics conventions I went to, but nothing was on the internet that it was on the news, but you could feel it when you went and books were getting 25% value at the dealership and whatnot, and then things fell off, and then that time period you're talking about when you started acquiring the AF-15s. There was a downturn there, or there was an opportunity there. I don't know if things will come down far enough at this point from where they were to be in that same place they're going to take off from here. I mean, maybe you'll get a good price on some of those, but is that book going to be, 30,000? You're going to get it. Is it going to be worth 60,000?
It's 20 years. It's hard now because my personal opinion wise, if I was to buy an AF-15, which I don't have a passion to buy it, like even want to grab another copy, because reason why is because If I get, say, let's say this way, if I buy a 2.0 copy and I buy it for, say, 25,000 right now, like, if I want it bad enough, if I want it bad enough in my collection, then I'll grab it. But if I'm one of those speculators out there saying, oh, you know what, I think this book's got the potential to go to 45 or 50, I go, you really think so? Well, there's like over 3,500 copies out there, and how many are there in your grade? And how many can I be bought at any single time? I could open the internet tomorrow morning and say, you know what, hell, there's 10 copies out there again, you know, but how many Superman ones are you going to find out there? How many Batman ones are you going to find out there? The less is supplied, the more higher demand. That's how it is. It's just no rocket science. You know what I mean? If I find one book that I want, there's one book that I like to have in my collection, which I've been hunting for forever, is Fantastic Comics #3. That's with Samson on the cover breaking apart this one robot. You know, that one is a coveted book in my opinion, next to my Superman 1. That book I've been trying to find for forever. There's like less than 30 copies out there in existence.
Huh.
That's a rarity.
I'll have to look that one up. I don't know that one.
Yeah, Fantastic Comics 3. It's got Samson in the front battling this one robot, and it has this subway, like all this a subway car behind him. It's iconic. Like, it's one of my favorite covers of all time. It's just, but when it comes out there, if you get a 1.0, it could be probably worth $20,000, $30,000. And if I ever saw one, then I probably would say, hey, listen, I'll go all in for that book because they're so scarce. But if it's an AF-15, they're not scarce anymore. They were at a time where they're like not valued as much as they are today, because why it was, that's
what's interesting, because the Spider-Man movie came out in 2001, you know, and that did huge in the box office. Superman 2 or Spider-Man 2, besides the third one, the first two did great. Then they brought out Andrew Garfield and had another run of it, and it didn't propel that book until now.
MCU.
Exactly, MCU. You know what? It's sad to say, but the MCU fucked it up. They fucked it up. MCU. They did. They absolutely did. Because everyone's speculating on books now because of the MCU. But before the MCU, no one speculated. They bought it because they wanted it. Now it's constantly.
We spec'd in the 90s, at least I did as a kid. You know, some of the books I grabbed, mostly baseball cards, but definitely some of the books. And now I find myself listening to those YouTube videos, and the movies are basing some of my decisions. But again, I collect what I like, and there's definitely some books like, you know, that mean a whole lot more than the speculation part of it. But I don't know how much longer that spec continues, and then when it becomes, what happens at that point.
Well, this is what I tell people: if you're going to collect books, you want to have a collection, great. What is your end game with the collections you're collecting? What is it? Do you want to have 100 books and just then call it a day and then just appreciate it? Or do you want to have 50 books, top 50, top 20, top 30? You know, like what is it? Like once you get to a certain point, where does your happiness start and when does it end? There has to be a point where well, my happiness will start tomorrow when I get that book of mine. Well, why can't it start today? Why can't you appreciate what you have? Like, I don't have Action Comics #1, and I probably never will. Doesn't make me, I'm gonna be upset my whole life. It's just a book, you know. You have to appreciate your life for what it is, not because you don't have something. You know, if I would spend my whole life saying, well, I couldn't get this book, my life's been now meaningless now because I spent my whole life waiting and wanting this book and I couldn't get this book, and all of a sudden it's like I'll be happy until I get it. That's a wrong way to think. You can't think like that. You know, it's just a hobby. It's
a hobby, and it's the enjoyment of the hunt.
Yes,
finding the book, but it's not the journey. Yeah, and then you get it, and you've reached the top of the mountain. I'm happy.
I got to the mountain point, and I climbed Mount Everest. You know, of my collecting abilities. You know, a lot of people, you know, they probably wouldn't have done it how I did it. You know, or they say, well, I can't do how you did it, because you can do it. You just have to use your brain to do it. You know what I mean?
Well, that was my thought. Is I don't know if you can really buy a bunch of AF-15s now at these prices to bump it up to this. I don't. There may be some opportunity, like you're saying, maybe in something else or different types of books. But
I'll tell you right now. I think the people who bought the Ultimate Fallout 4, the 1 in 25, whoever bought those books,
the Jerkin variant,
those guys who bought those books at the time have got a golden opportunity now. If they have, like, say, 5 or 10 copies, that's your golden ticket right there. If you think that book's going to keep climbing and climbing and climbing when there's so many copies out there, your best bet is to take that book that you have right now and say multiple copies cash it and put it towards something more meaniful. That's a great book. Don't get me wrong; it's a great book. But the thing is, is it worth $40,000 now?
Yeah, AF-15 money. I don't think so.
Yeah.
If you bought it at $400 and you got to say 5 copies, 6 copies, you don't sell it. You're a fool. You're a fool.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Well, that's like another thought too that I have on like Hulk 340, just to use that one. I bought it for $30. I could probably sell it today for $400. Nothing huge, but that's do I sell it now because it got that value, or do I keep it because I like it because it's smaller money? But the Jurgen variant that we're talking about, bought it for $400. It's worth $40,000.
Yeah,
I'm gonna get rid of it. I think, right?
Of course. But some guys won't. Some guys won't. I had a Hulk 340. It was a newsstand. I bought it for $1,200. As soon as I bought it, I knew exactly what I was getting, because it was at a point where it was almost the same price as say a little comic store. The newsstands compared to, like, say, the regular versions. I bought it. There's some kid out there. I forget who it was. It was like about 2 years ago. He goes, "I'll give you $300 for it." I go, "What?" "I'll give you $300 for it," because he knew it was like a newsstand. It's something very special, right? Something special. And I go, "You think it's really that special, huh? Because it's a newsstand?" And oh yeah. So you know what I did to him? I sold it.
Yeah, good for you.
I made like $3,000.
Was it a 9.8 or something?
Yeah, it was 9.8. But I wasn't stupid. I said, "Hey, I made clean money like that. Go ahead, take it all you want. If you think that book's gonna get you $10,000 or $20,000, God bless you, my friend." I said to him, I said, "You know what? I'm going."
Yeah, that's the difference. Like you're saying, is the rareness of the books you're going after. You got it, and then there's so many of those other books. And again, if you get them for a good price, then you're really not into it for too much. You didn't invest too much into it. It's more of the hobby of it. But if it's, again, that's everyone, you got to collect what you like. But there's a difference between paying $3,500 for a Hulk 340 newsstand, or the Jurgen. I don't even know how to say it right, but the variant, we'll call it.
Dijaveric, I think it's called
Javeric. I mean,
Javeric. Yeah,
$40,000. Most of us would rather put on something else.
That book has been shell bid up so high. I'm telling you now, the person who's holding that comic for $40,000, I'm like going, you know what? What happened to AF-50 last year? It took a massive tumble, and I'm like, I was surprised. I'm like that, like, for what I bought it in for, and I sold it, and to me wise, it was a no-brainer. But the thing is, like, you have to know when to cash out. That's the problem. Nobody knows when to cash out. They go, "Well, if you bought a book for $500 and it's somewhere $3,000, where's your cash out point?" "Oh, when it hits $10,000, when it hits $20,000." I go, "Are you sure about that?" I go, "You know what?"
The difference there is that it has to be robotic in a sense, like just with stocks. I dabble in that, and you got rid of a stock. You got to be robotic about it. You can't have any. You can't have any favoritism to it. You just got to get rid of it. If the value goes to where like you just said, $500 down to $3,500, get rid of it. Right?
Well,
you think it's going to go to 10, but you don't. You made some good money there.
You have to, because the point is it's when you look at books in a no nonsense way, it's money. That's all it is money. You're playing with money that's in a different format. People don't understand that. It's money. To me, wise, it's just moving money around. That's all it is. You got a picture in a slab. That's money. That's all it is. It's no different if I have a $100 bill and put that in a big slab and saying, "Here it is." What's the difference between this and this? "Well, that's a book. That's money." I said, "Well, they're both the same, aren't they? They're both valued the same, aren't they? You're just looking at it the wrong way." That's how you're just moving money around. That's I don't try to stay attached to books that means nothing to me. Like, there's some significance to it, but I don't try to stay attached to it. If you stay attached or married to your books for so long, they will own you. You won't own them.
Right. It'll be hard to get rid of them at that.
Exactly. And then the problem is this: "Oh, I should have sold at that time where that book came out, or I should have done this." I go, "Well, that's your thing." If people spread their money too much around, where it's like, you know what, everyone's going, "Well, I want an ASM1, I want an AF-15, I want a Thor first appearance, I want stick to one character, keep it simple. If you don't keep it simple, your brain's going all these other directions here. You're not knowing what you want, not what you're focusing on. My main focus when I was collecting back in the late 90s was Superman. That's because I love the character. It's historic. It doesn't get better than that. It wasn't like I love Spider-Man. Don't get me wrong. I grew up with watching Spider-Man series back in the mid '90s. I love the Black Symbiote suit, the whole series. That's one of my favorite series of all time. I have those books in 9.8s. I put them aside because there's a significance to me growing up and watching the series, and I want to keep those just for my memories. But anything else other than that, wise, you keep yourself focused on a certain thing that you want. If you can say if you're putting a direction on going here, 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 you don't know what you're focusing on, what you actually want more. If you want a Hulk when you want Hulk characters, study those characters and go gravitate towards those. Then all of a sudden, it's like you're spreading your money too thin like that. It's going here and everywhere else.
Yeah,
I wouldn't do that. It's just wasted time.
I think that's my problem.
It's just, it's just, well, to me, wise, every day is time for us. You know what I mean? I don't know how long I'm going to live for or anybody else is going to live for. You know what? I make the most of it each day I can. And what I do with that is like, I'll buy what I can, that I want, keep it, and just look at it and say, you know what, this is what I acquired because you know what, this makes me happy. But I can't be happy if I'm going, well, I want 6 characters, I want 7 characters, I want 10 characters. And by the time I got these 65 long boxes in my closet, I go, well, what do you like the most? Well, all of them. Well, how could you? Right. There's got to be something that you like more. Chocolate ice cream or vanilla, which is your favorite?
Yeah, exactly. No, I think displaying them, having them up, that's a better point instead of having them in long boxes. But I mean, some people just like to have a bunch of them. Some want to display them. I'm more geared to what you're saying and show them off. Right.
I think if you keep your collection manageable, that's how I call it, manageable, you'll appreciate them more. Like I agree. I see this one guy on YouTube. He's from Canada as well too, and I see his collection. It's massive. I mean, it's massive. He's got that would drive me insane to have all the books I have in my room and stuff like that. It would drive me nuts. I go because you have so much out there. I'm going really. I go this is it would drive me to madness. I go and then still keep collecting and use a credit card to keep buying more books. That becomes a hoarder's paradise. You don't you have no limits then. That's dangerous to do that. Dangerous.
There's real quick, I think, and we should start to wrap this up. But I was gonna say, there's a guy, Como Comic Books. He's got great videos on YouTube and things like that. And I think he said his goal is to collect, or was, I don't know if it still is his goal or not, but was to collect every comic book of the Silver Age. And it's like, wow. Like if he can manage that, and that's what he wants to do. That's awesome. But like I'm with you on that. Like, whoa, no way.
That's great. That's like, you know what? That's like giving yourself an aneurysm because I need this book. I need that book. I go. What happens if you don't get it? What happens then? You end up going to the hospital because you get a coronary because the doctor asks you, says, "Well, what happened? How did you get in this mess?" I needed these books and I just couldn't get it. My heart couldn't take it anymore.
But hey, as we say, if that's what you love. And if that's what he loves and he's going for it and that makes him happy, great. But I'm with you on that one. Like, that's too much to manage.
There's got to be something. There's got to be something that you love the most. Like I said, like, you know what? You guys must have watched, A Christmas Story with Ralphie, right? You must have watched 1,000 times.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, Ralphie's biggest thing was that BB gun. That was my BB gun. This whole comic book. That's the one thing I wanted the most about anything out there. There's got to be that one thing that you strive for and want more. Not just, I got to have 10 of this and 55 of that and 65 of this. And then by the time I get 100 of that, I'll be happy.
Well, then, Errol, just don't shoot your eye out.
Nice.
That's the main point.
Well, yeah. I think overall the message here is the focus is what got you to get to your grail. It was focus and
manageable. That's it.
Yeah.
Keep it manageable. Just don't like the time when I was buying these books back like 10, 12 years ago, it was different time. Get that out of your head. It's not the same today. It's not as so-called easy to get all these books at the same time. It's too much work. If you focus on just one thing at a time, where it's like, if you want, Tales of Suspense 39, that's an expensive book. You can still buy that book in under 10,000 for say a 1 or 2.0 book. That's the things like people are going, well, I don't want to book that low grade. Well, here's the thing. I was buying AF-15s at 2.0s, at 2.5s for say $3,000 back in 2012. That was low grade, wasn't it? I didn't sneer by those books and say they're not worthy to collect. Now look at them. What I mean? That's you're thinking. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
They always want the higher looking.
Yeah, and I think the other lesson here too is like understand it's a journey. It's not a sprint, right? It's
it takes as long as it takes you. You know what I mean?
And takes it. Yeah.
It took me 20-some years to get my book. You know, it took almost like half my life to get my book. You know what I mean? It's like I worked for it. You know, it's like it's like anything. Nothing comes easy. You know, you have to work for it. Like for me, I had an opportunity and I used my head where, you know, I have to go here to you know, in order for me to get to this destination, what do I got to do? I have to go think this way to get to this way. And by the time I get to that, you know, it's almost like Dorothy and Wizard of Oz. You get to Yellowbrick Road and there you are. You know what I mean? It took a journey to get there. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You have to fight all these witches and freaking, you know, like, you know, flying monkeys around, you know, just to get there. But in the end of it, you get there, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
No,
that's why I did it.
I congratulate you on getting your grail.
Thanks, guys. Appreciate it.
And thanks for coming on.
We have our grail we won, and we hope.
Thanks for having me on. Yeah, it was a great conversation. Like I said, anyone use your head in a smart way, in a more logical way. You know, keep your collecting it moderate. You know what I mean? You'll be more happier when you don't stress yourself out of I have to have these kind of books and this book and this book. You know, this is the thing is I've had all those books. It doesn't stress me to not have them anymore. It doesn't. Honestly, it's just a book. You know what I mean? If I want that, I'll get an omnibus book if I have to. Just look at the pages. But me not having it physically is not going to be my life is less meaningful because I don't have it. Like I said, I had it. If people say, "Well, you're crazy that you don't have it anymore." Well, that's just me.
It was a means to an end.
It's a means, yes. The means what I wanted to get to. So that's what made more to me to have this. You know, other than those books, that's fine. But it doesn't make me happier to have all these other books and then the side saying, "Well, all these books will mean more to me than that book." No, it wasn't about that. It's just like I said, everyone's got their own thing. Where that was my thing. So it's like I had to do what I had to do. Go over the flaming hoops just to get inside there to get it done, and I just did it. You know, it's no difference. Like I said, anyone can do it. Just focus on what you want more. Don't focus your mind on 6 different items out there. It's just get out of your head. Just focus on one thing that you like the most. Like Superman's my thing. It could be Batman. It could be Spider-Man. Have a good Spider-Man collection. You know what I mean? That's just the way I look at it. You know, just you know, treasure it. That's all it is. Have fun. Have fun collecting books. That's how I did it. I didn't stress myself out to going, oh God, the speculations just drive me crazy. What else did I buy tomorrow? Yeah. Oh, I gotta wait till I see Comic Tom. Comic Tom, hurry up! I gotta know tomorrow. I gotta know what's out there. Hurry up, man! It's just time's money, guy. Come on, man.
We have a whatnot sale coming up. We got a whatnot sale coming up. We got.
Yeah, I gotta know what to buy. Come on, man. I know what to buy. I just something. Buy what you want. Don't look at someone else's what they want. You know.
Yeah.
Don't follow other people. Follow your own lead. Do that.
No, I agree.
Right on.
It's all about that. So I appreciate the time, Errol.
Yeah, thanks for coming on.
Great interview.
On the end part, I'll show you this here. Hold on. On the end part, this was my journey. That was all about. That was my journey. You know what I mean? Yeah. This is what it's all about when you're collecting. You know what? This to me was my Super Bowl of all games. You know what I mean?
Yeah, you won. You got it, man. That's awesome. That's awesome.
You know what I mean? How do you surpass that? You know what I mean? It's like, yeah, okay, Detective 27, but no, I'm happy. You know,
that's your again. You got to collect what you like. That you got it. I mean, most people may never get to that point, but you're saying they can get to it, and it's a good journey. How they can get to it, and hopefully they listen. They listen to our show here and find us on Instagram. Find you on Instagram. Rohan as well, and myself. Hit us up with any questions you have, and hit up Errol and ask him more details about how we all can get maybe Superman one day.
Yeah, have to use the hobby to fund itself. That's how I did it. Use the hobby to fund itself. It's not just cracking your wallet and say, "Here's $200,000." It's being smart and strategic. That's what it is. It's like winning the big game. You gotta be strategic on how you do it. It just doesn't come to you. Here it is, a long ball.
Yeah.
No Hail Marys. But we appreciate the time, everyone, for listening.
No, I appreciate it,
bringing you on. But I want to thank everyone for listening to episode 5. I think we did a bang-up job interviewing because we had such a great story that Errol could tell us.
Yeah.
So thanks
Made
again.
It easy.
Yeah, man.
We will see everyone next time. Have a great week. See you guys.